Welcome, curious minds. Tonight we're stepping onto a path less traveled. We're looking at where that familiar comfort of sleep gives way to something. Well, something far more unsettling. We're not just telling spooky stories tonight. We're diving into 3 true accounts, really fascinating ones. They challenge our understanding of consciousness, memory, and these really intricate connections between dreams and waking reality. We've gathered these narratives because, honestly, they're compelling case studies. They kind of push the boundaries of what we think we know about the mind. We'll look at how subconscious cues, maybe repressed memories, or even these strange perceptions might show up in ways that blur the lines, that line between a dream and, well, horrifying reality. Prepare for some insights from psychology, neuroscience, and just the real experiences of these individuals. It might make you question what you believe about the mind's power, and the mysteries of the night.
It really is fascinating looking at how our brains process information, conscious and unconscious, especially in these kinds of extreme scenarios. What's unsettling here, I think, is how these dreams, they don't just seem to reflect fears inside us. They almost seem to engage in this complex dialogue almost with what's happening outside, with external reality. We often just dismiss dreams, don't we? Like, oh, it's just nightly theatrics. But these accounts, they really force us to consider something more sophisticated, maybe even an anticipatory function of the sleeping mind.
Okay, let's get into the first one. Our first account takes us back to childhood. It spanned, 3 or 4 years? A young boy experiencing this recurring nightmare. And it wasn't just scary, it was eerily consistent. Like it played out almost identically each time, like a loop. He describes it as being half lucid. He saw his own bedroom, but from the ceiling, like through a security camera.
That kind of out-of-body perspective, that alone would be unnerving.
Right. And he couldn't move. He'd noticed these strange details, too. A digital clock counting backwards. Crayon drawings on the walls he definitely didn't make. Always the same pictures. Smiling people holding hands, one smaller figure. In front of this house with a blue roof. And an old toy train he'd lost ages ago to just be sitting there in a new spot on the floor each time. But the most terrifying part, this unexplainable urge, he just had to look out the window. And every single time, like clockwork, a man would appear inches from the glass.
Inches? Wow.
Yeah. Short gray hair and a really distinctive cut on his left temple. The man would just watch him sleep for a few seconds. Then he'd start clawing at the window, like he was trying to get in. The boy would wake up, naturally terrified, sometimes too scared to even move, but he'd always check the window. Nothing there.
Of course. Standard nightmare aftermath, you'd think.
Exactly. And after the 4th time this happened, his parents kind of dismissed it. Common recurring nightmares, kids have them. His dad even went outside, looked around the house, no footprints, no smudges on the window, nothing. Then the dreams just stopped for about 6 months. So this false sense of security sets in, like maybe it was just a phase.
Well, that initial dismissal, it's completely understandable, right? He highlights how we often try to find rational explanations for things that feel, irrational. When you're faced with something so subjective, especially from a child, the first impulse is often just to normalize it. Oh, it's just a dream.
Yeah, trying to protect him, maybe protect themselves too, from something they just couldn't figure out. But then the dream came back. Everything was exactly the same. Except for one really chilling difference. In the dream this time, his bedroom window was open.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He woke up immediately into about 5 minutes of complete sleep paralysis. Felt this bone-chilling cold. He was convinced the man was about to climb in. He called it pure active fear. When he could finally move again, he forced himself to the window. Looked. It was locked shut.
That sleep paralysis element is key here. It's a known neurological thing. It affects maybe 7% of people. You wake up, but your body is still in REM atonia. Basically, mind's awake, muscles aren't. Temporarily paralyzed. And what often happens and gets overlooked is it comes with incredibly vivid hallucinations. Visual, auditory, this profound sense of dread. The brain's trying to make sense of the disconnect so it can generate terrifying stuff. A presence in the room, or like here, a man at the window, the bone-chilling cold. That could easily be part of that sensory hallucination. Makes the terror feel more real.
That makes sense. His mind, trying to fill in the blanks, explained why he felt so terrified and couldn't move. So he tells his parents again. This time he gives more detail, especially about that distinctive cut on the man's forehead. And this time, their whole demeanor just shifted. His father actually cut him off, asking, "Are you sure about the cut?" Like, really focused on that detail. Days later, they confessed, there was this friend from college, Uncle Brian, used to watch the boy when he was just a baby. They'd had a really bad falling out, and the father had forbidden Brian from ever coming near the family again. And here's the kicker. Brian had a noticeable scar on his forehead from a car accident.
Oh, okay. The scar. That's incredibly potent, psychologically speaking. This lines up with theories like cryptomnesia, or even repressed memory. Cryptomnesia is fascinating. It's where a forgotten memory, especially from early childhood, before we really form explicit memories, can resurface, often in altered states, like dreams. He was too young to consciously remember Brian or the scar. But maybe that early exposure, that feeling of a presence, just lingered somewhere deep down. So the brain, under the stress of the nightmare, might have pieced together these fragments, these bits of unconscious memory, and created this window man narrative around them, the father's theory that it was his brain processing a deeply buried memory, maybe even a traumatic one, of this unwelcome person. It's compelling. Really makes you think how deep our earliest experiences run, doesn't it?
So the dream wasn't just random noise, it was the subconscious trying to piece together fragments, make sense of something. Okay, so after they told him this, the dreams became less frequent. Maybe happened once or twice over the next year. But then things took a really dark turn. Sometime in year 4, he wakes up from the dream one night, glances at his window, just out of habit. And this time, he saw something move.
Outside the window. For real.
Yeah. Just a flicker, he said, but he was 100% sure. Right outside his window. All those years of fear just came rushing back, but way worse than before. He alerts his parents. His dad sprints outside, bare feet and all. Comes back, whispers something to his mom. They told the boy they called the police. But interestingly, he never heard sirens, never heard anyone else's voice. Later, his dad admitted he thought he saw some extremely faint footprints under the window. But he assured the boy it couldn't possibly be Brian. They'd moved since then. Brian didn't know their new address. And after that night, the dream never came back.
See, this is where the ambiguity really deepens, isn't it? We can offer psychological explanations for the dream itself, the cryptomnesia, the sleep paralysis hallucinations. That all makes sense. But the physical element, the movement he saw, the faint footprints, that introduces something external, something objective that psychology alone struggles to fully account for. It raises that question. Was the dream somehow fueling a conscious or subconscious fear of being watched, which then made him hyper-aware, maybe misinterpret a shadow? Or were those dreams somehow a reflection of someone actually periodically watching him? And his brain was processing very subtle, real-world cues that his conscious mind just didn't pick up on till that final dramatic awakening. The connection feels almost too strong to be pure coincidence for him, even if, scientifically you'd lean towards confirmation bias or a heightened state of perception.
It's a properly chilling thought, isn't it? The idea that a recurring nightmare could be like a direct warning system. Which brings us neatly to our next story. This comes from someone who usually manages their dreams. Uses specific sounds like a podcast about space or recordings of thunderstorms to kind of direct their subconscious, keep nightmares away. But during a sleepover, that routine got broken, and it led to a dream that literally screamed a warning at him. He was at his friend Duncan's place. Another friend, Ian, was there too, sleeping in the living room. Duncan's parents were away for the weekend. Without his usual sleep sounds, the narrator has one of the most vivid dreams he's ever experienced. He's on a small sailboat. The sea is choppy. The sky is this dark purple and gray color. Wind howling. Very cinematic, he said. He'd never even been on a sailboat before, which felt odd even in the dream. Suddenly, the boat lurches, hits something, cracks. Water starts gushing in. He's trying to plug the hole, panicking. As the boat starts sinking, a dolphin just leaps dramatically out of the water, locks eyes with him, and in perfect English, it commands, "Wake up."
Wow. The clarity of that. And the directness from a dream figure. That's remarkable. It really pushes beyond typical dream symbolism. It's not suggesting something. It's a direct imperative instruction, almost like an alarm bell from within.
And that command just instantly snapped him awake. No grogginess. His mind felt sharp, like immediately processing things. At first, everything seemed normal. His friends were asleep. But then he heard it. A distinct, consistent rushing sound. Coming from upstairs somewhere, like a hose pipe running, not just a drip. And it clicked. This must be why he had that bizarre ocean dream, the sound.
Right. This is where we can look at the brain's incredible ability for subtle environmental processing. While the idea of a psychic warning is compelling, especially given what happens next, a more, let's say, scientific view might suggest his subconscious picked up on that faint sound, the running water, before his conscious mind did. The brain then basically translated the sensory input into a narrative that made sense in the dream context. Sinking boat, gushing water. And the urgent need to wake up. It's the mind creating a dramatic story to force conscious action based on info it already has, subconsciously.
So, like an idiot, as he puts it, he creeps upstairs alone. The sound gets louder with each step, unmistakably running water. coming from the upstairs bathroom, end of the hall. The door was slightly ajar. He could see the sink faucet was just blasting, full power, one knob turned all the way on, but something just stopped him from going in. The bathroom layout, it had loads of blind spots. A long counter, a bathtub with a shower curtain, an awkward corner by the toilet. He just got this dreadful certainty that someone could be hiding in there. His stomach just dropped. He couldn't make himself step inside, so he runs back downstairs, wakes Duncan up, tells him his fear. Someone's in the house, the sink's blasting upstairs. Duncan, though groggy, gets it pretty quick. They leave Ian asleep, creep back up together. When they reach the bathroom door this time, Duncan doesn't hesitate, just pushes the door open and steps right in. Yeah. What happened next was terrifyingly fast. Almost immediately, a figure launches out from around the corner, tackles Duncan, swinging a piece of PVC pipe. The narrator didn't even think, just threw himself into the middle of it. Both of them piled onto this intruder, wrestling him down. But the guy was bigger than both of them. He managed to break free, shoved them aside, and just sprinted for the stairs. Vanished into the night. Police arrived, maybe 30 minutes later, figured out the entry point was an unlocked downstairs window. They suggested it was probably just a random burglar. But the friends, they suspected something much more sinister.
Well, yeah, why would a burglar deliberately make noise turning on a faucet like that? It doesn't make sense if you want to be stealthy.
Exactly. It felt like a trap to lure someone upstairs. Duncan's convinced the intruder knew his parents were away and probably expected only one person to be home in him.
This really looks like a textbook example of threat assessment, right? Whether it's conscious or unconscious. The intruder's action, turning on the faucet. It's weird for a burglar. It suggests a deliberate attempt to draw someone out, maybe create a distraction, or, like Duncan thought, set an ambush. So the dream, in that context, it can be seen as this highly efficient internal warning system, taking fragmented sensory data of the sound and converting it into an actionable directive. Wake up. Whether you lean towards the purely scientific subconscious processing the sound or something more like, precognition, the outcome is the same. It potentially averted a really tragic situation. The brain clearly sensed danger and acted.
It's incredible, isn't it, how our minds, even when we're asleep, seem to be trying to protect us. Okay, for our final story tonight, we delve into an experience that really blurs the lines. Through this terrifying phenomenon known as a false awakening, the narrator was staying at his girlfriend Bonnie's house. Her parents were away for the weekend. Her room's on the second floor, and it overlooks this dense, pitch-black line of trees in the backyard. He remembers having this profoundly unsettling dream. He woke up abruptly, heard the unmistakable sound of a downstairs door slamming shut, then rapid footsteps racing up the stairs. His first instinct was to confront whoever it was, but something froze him. A thin yellow glow spilling from under Bonnie's bedroom door. His vision just tunneled onto this sliver of light. Everything else faded. The footsteps reached the door, then silence. And then the voices started. First, a woman's voice, just hurling these nasty insults at him about his appearance, his life, his future, horrible stuff. But then it got terrifyingly personal. Started reciting events, words, actions from his past, deeply personal things he'd never shared with anyone, not even Bonnie. One voice became two, then three, until it felt like 100 voices, just tormenting him with his darkest, most repressed secrets. He said it felt like the darkest bits of his brain were being dragged out, put under a microscope.
That's what's truly disturbing here. The dream's ability to access and then weaponize his deepest psychological vulnerabilities. During these heightened anxiety states, especially within a false awakening, the brain can tap into these internal fears and insecurities. It creates incredibly specific, self-tormenting content. It feels like the dream knows your secrets because, well, it's your own mind generating them, drawing from your life, your anxieties, your self-perception. It really makes you wonder about the hidden depths in all of us, doesn't it? What buried fears or traumas might be lurking.
Yeah. So, overwhelmed, he threw off the covers, bolted across the room, swung the door open to face them, but the instant the door opened, every single light in the house just snapped off, plunged him into pure, ice-cold darkness. The voices stopped instantly. He stumbled back into bed, scrambled under the covers like a little kid, then he woke up again. Only he realized he was still dreaming. It was happening again.
The false awakening loop.
Exactly. He saw that same strip of yellow light under the door. Heard the downstairs door slam again, the frantic footsteps stomping up the stairs. The entire agonizing sequence just replayed itself precisely. The footsteps stopping, the voices starting, the whole thing. He couldn't stop himself. He ran to the door again, opened it. Same cold darkness, same silence.
That phenomenon, the false awakening or a dream within a dream, it's a fascinating REM sleep state. Often happens during lucid dreaming or, like here, under high stress. It makes it incredibly difficult to tell what's real and what's not. The brain sort of trying to wake up but gets stuck in this loop, creates profound disorientation, often repeats the same terrifying scenario, which just intensifies the feeling of being trapped and blurring reality, causes extreme distress. You think you're awake, you interact with the dream environment, but nope, still dreaming.
So when he finally woke up for real this time, his heart was absolutely pounding. He was like 75% sure he was actually awake, but so disoriented from that double false awakening. But Bonnie was sound asleep beside him, totally unaware. That's when he knew, okay, this is real now. But then he looked at the bedroom door, and there, under the door, was that exact same strip of yellow light he'd seen in the dream.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. It made no sense. Every light in the house should have been off. And then heard them, footsteps downstairs. Clear as day. Someone was definitely inside the house. He immediately called the police, really quietly, then gently woke Bonnie up, put his hands over her mouth just in case she made a noise. After some incredibly tense minutes, the police arrived, kicked in the front door, arrested 2 masked men downstairs. A week later, Bonnie found out the men had seen a Facebook post about her parents being away. They didn't think anyone would be home. But the narrator says, as odd as it sounds, the actual break-in doesn't bother him as much as the dream itself. How did the content of that dream, those incredible personal secrets, how did that manifest? And how could he have conjured such a perfect image of that light under the door when he was lying down? Couldn't even see it. That strip of light is just seared into his mind now. He says he can still see it sometimes. A constant reminder of that night, when his subconscious laid bare his deepest fears, mirroring this harrowing reality that was actually unfolding.
That is a truly chilling convergence, isn't it? The perfect image of the light under the door. That's particularly intriguing. From a scientific angle, you might consider, say, confirmation bias. Once he woke up and saw the real light, maybe his mind latched onto that detail, making the dream feel eerily predictive after the fact. However, it also opens the door to these ideas about subtle, preconscious perception. Could the brain register faint light under a door, or even faint sounds from downstairs, before the conscious mind does, and then weave those cues into the dream narrative? The critical question remains, did the dream predict the event, or was his subconscious just processing real-world sensory input, albeit in this deeply terrifying, psychologically loaded way? The fact that the dream content was so intensely personal, combined with the real-world confirmation of the light and the intruders, it creates this powerful, unforgettable experience, one that really challenges our conventional understanding.
These 3 accounts, they just leave you with this profound sense of unease, don't they? They really challenge our whole understanding of what dreams actually are. Are they just figments of imagination, just our subconscious processing daily stress, or do they maybe serve as something more? Conduits, maybe, warnings, even reflections of a reality our conscious mind isn't ready for, or maybe can't even perceive yet.
This whole deep dive really forces us to reconsider the boundaries of our own perception. If our minds are capable of these really intricate connections, linking inner fears with external threats, translating subtle cues into these vivid, actionable stories, then how much more might be happening just beyond our conscious awareness? It invites us to think about that mysterious space, where reality and dreams seem to converge, and maybe to question the very nature of what we even consider waking versus sleeping. Perhaps our deepest fears, or even just our most subtle sensory inputs, are sometimes the most accurate predictors of what's coming, even if we don't understand the mechanism behind it at all.
We really hope these chilling tales and this exploration of maybe what's behind them psychologically have left you with a lot to ponder. Thank you so much for joining us on this.
Well, this unsettling journey into the unknown depths of the mind and its mysterious connection to reality. If you've been fascinated by these stories and insights and you want to keep exploring the unexplained with us, please make sure to engage with our show. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs. Until next time, sleep tight, if you can.